In this video, I'm going to give you my opinion on the likely direction of the UK property market for the next 12 months. I'll do this by making 10 predictions on where we will be by the end of 2026 on the key parameters relating to UK property. Now, these are my own opinions and things are not guaranteed to happen in this way. Nobody can predict the future with certainty, but this is what I believe from my understanding of the market. And I'll do a video at the end of 2026 to see how accurate these have turned out to be. First, I'll cover the underlying factors that drive the market, such as inflation, interest rates, the economy, housing supply, and government legislation, including the effects of the Renters' Rights Act. I'll then consider the effect on home buyers, passive investors, and active landlords before looking at the rental and property price trends overall for the UK as well as regionally. Stick with me to the end as I explain the practical consequences of this forecast. I'll explain how you can switch from paper investments and savings to low-cost property to maximize your returns and do it in a 100% passive manner without the liabilities and costs of being an active landlord. Hi everyone. I'm Dr. T, and I've been in the property business for almost 50 years. Here's a bit about me. In the 1980s, whilst working as a junior doctor, my hobby was computers, and I co-founded one of the UK's largest PC manufacturers with over 3,000 staff. Computer making moved to China, and during the past 17 years, I researched and analysed the UK property market and developed a property business for 100% passive investors, which currently looks after almost 3,000 properties and is now run by my children and over 100 staff. I really enjoy helping people with property investment and making videos like this. Please hit the like button, drop a comment below, subscribe, and hit the bell. Let's get back to the video. So let's start with my 10 forecasts for UK property in 2026. 2026 forecast 1, interest rates and the economy. By the end of 2026, inflation will be under control, with CPI inflation running at around 2%. But the economy will remain weak, with GDP for the year at under 1.5% growth. Unemployment will increase a little from the current 5% to around 5.2%. Thus, the Bank of England will ease off the interest rate slightly, and the base rate will be down to 3.25% from the current 3.75%. This further reduction in interest rates is an important factor driving the market in 2026. 2026 forecast 2, underlying property supply and demand. I cover in another video why the government's target of building 1.5 million new homes over 5 years is not high enough and why they're not even going to achieve this. In 2025, the first year of their forecast, only around 200,000 new homes were built, which is about 66% of the government target. In 2026, it's likely to be even lower. My estimate is around 190,000 homes, and most of these will not be affordable homes. Population, on the other hand, is likely to increase by up to 700,000 during 2026. This translates to about 300,000 new households in the UK. So demand for housing will further outstrip supply, meaning there will be pressure on rents and property prices to go even higher. 2026 forecast 3, effect of Renters' Rights Act. I cover in another video how this act will make it fairer for renters and raise housing standards, increasing the desirability of renting. But on the other hand, it will increase the liabilities and costs for landlords. This may frighten away some active landlords, possibly reducing rental supply. But in my view, many landlords will become passive investors by buying property and then renting it to a professional company, such as the sponsor of this video, who then sublets to their own tenants and pays the investor a net guaranteed rent with no costs. In this way, the company is the acting landlord, and the Renters' Rights Act applies to the company and not to the passive owner, who doesn't have any liability for the tenancy or property maintenance. 2026 forecast for switch away from savings to property. In general, I expect that there will be more investors shifting away from paper investments such as savings, shares, bonds, and so on, to real property, which is a tangible, secure asset with good net income. Now, this is because lower interest rates reduces the risk that property prices will fall. It's more likely they will grow even faster, thus making property more attractive to such investors. Falling interest income from bank savings in particular will trigger many investors with cash sitting in the bank to switch to property, as doing so will result in net income increasing on average by about threefold, and they'll also get long-term capital growth. Switching to property will become a no-brainer for them. If you haven't subscribed yet, now's a good time. We publish content every week on UK property investing. Hit the bell and like. It really helps the channel and ensures you're notified when the next video is released. 2026 forecast 5, rental demand. Overall, I think the number of rental properties will not change, even though some active landlords will exit due to fears relating to the Renters' Rights Act. Others will become passive investors by renting to a company who then sublets. And more will enter the market as they switch away from paper investments and bank savings to get better returns and lower risk with real property. However, rents will still rise due to higher rental demand from increasing population, shortage of housing, and higher desirability of renting. And these rents will also be driven by higher landlord costs due to the Renters' Rights Act. Overall, net percentage returns for investors and landlords will remain unchanged by the end of 2026. 2026 forecast 6, own-use property purchases. Overall, there'll be more property transactions in 2026. I estimate 1.25 million compared with 1.15 million in 2025 and only around 1 million in 2024. 80% of these transactions will be purchases for own use, with an increasing number of first-time buyers. Higher own use purchases will be driven by the fact that rents are rising and properties are more affordable due to lower interest rates, even though the actual prices on properties will be rising. So some renters will want to stop renting and buy instead, as their mortgage payment will be lower than their rent. And existing owners who've been holding on due to uncertainties of the past 2 years will take the opportunity to move. 2026 forecast 7, investment property purchases. These will also be proportionally higher. About 20% of the total purchases will be investment properties. This is about 250,000 in 2026. Although mortgage purchases will rise due to lower interest rates, around 70% of these will remain as cash purchases because there'll also be a rise as investors switch from paper investments and cash saving to real property. So the majority of investment purchases in 2026 will still be cash purchases. 2026 forecast 8, property price rises in general. Rising number of households due to higher population, more affordability due to lower interest rates, and higher demand from investors switching away from cash savings will all result in price rises overall. There'll be huge regional differences, but my forecast overall for the UK is for price rises that are higher than inflation at around 3% to 4% on average by the end of 2026. 2026 forecast 9, regions that will go down. London property prices will continue to fall. I estimate a further fall of 5% overall for London, although this may be much higher in certain central areas of London. Generally, the prices in the expensive areas of the south will go down by around 1% or be static. 2026 forecast 10, regions going up. Lower cost houses in the north will be in highest demand, especially from investors and first-time buyers. Prices in the north are likely to go up at higher rates than 2025 by around 5% to 7%. Prices in the Midlands on average will go up by around 3%. So these are my 10 forecasts for 2026. And these are broadly in line with many other forecasts that are out there. Overall, these are good for the property market and good for investors, especially those who can be 100% passive owners and not have to worry about the Renters' Rights Act. The best returns are forecast to be from low-cost properties in the north of England. A property costing £85,000 now will cost around £90,000 by end of 2026. This will almost certainly be the case with properties sold by a sponsor, as already their buy prices are rising. Please watch the short message from our sponsor at the end on how you can buy such low-cost rental property in the north and own it 100% passively with no landlord costs or liabilities. The scales are shifting in favor of property again, and right now is the time to do your research and act. Thanks for watching.
If you want to invest in property and get 7% net rent, long-term capital growth, no costs or liabilities ever, do nothing yourself, and be living anywhere in the world, then consider Find UK Property. They provide 100% passive investment solutions for long-term income from freehold properties starting at under 80k. You get a property that is affordable, fully renovated, already rented out, contractually guaranteed and productive from day one. You become the owner and rent it back to Find UK Property so that they become your tenants and look after all aspects of the property in a fully compliant way. You never need to deal with tenants, estate agents, or do any property maintenance or repairs, or pay for any costs. Find UK Property look after over 2,500 houses, all of which are sublet to their own tenants. And on average, they get more rent from their tenants than they have to pay the property owners. So that way they can cover all the property costs. Their solutions are great for those wanting to retire on pension-type income or gradually build large property portfolios passively in a tax-efficient manner. Please visit the website at findukproperty.com and speak to a consultant today.